بيستعرض عدد مهم جدا من الإجراءات والقرارات
number of decisions and measures with regard to the global crisis we suffer currently. This is all based on the instructions given by the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to take into account the social dimension in this crisis. The government is trying to carry the bigger load with regard to the higher increase of prices and the global inflation wave you are all following up. The whole world is witnessing inflation numbers that didn't happen 50 or 60 years ago. The president himself discussed the data during the inauguration of the integrated complex of animal production. This big project that is going to be added value to the Egyptian economy. Allow me to review the last 3 inaugurations. We were honored to attend in the presence of His Excellency the President. They all were part of the food security vision. We started in Toshka, the wheat harvest, future of Delta, and the third one in Sadat. And this week, of course, this is the result of the mega projects the government is doing last years. The Egyptian government is investing in huge numbers just to secure and provide all capabilities required for food security, and this is part and parcel of the national security. Again, I assure you that the President and the government declared that these projects and this big infrastructure, the private sector is not able to do them, but the private sector can manage, operate and develop. Once the government is financing the infrastructure and give the opportunity for the private sector to lay the foundation for partnerships with the government. This is our new trend, the mega projects. As you know, the private sector is unable to do the infrastructure the country is doing, so the private sector may follow these efforts. Let me assure you that the social part, and we follow up as government that what is published on this regard with regard to the burden over the citizens and how to relieve the burden. Again, the president as possible and the government is reconsidering the budget to see how to take the biggest load. That's why as a policy and strategy, these increases in main commodities, we try to absorb the biggest load and just to relieve the burden over the citizens. That's why we discussed in our meeting, as you know, we set a plan for restructuring the electricity sector. And His Excellency Minister Muhammad Shakir every year is presenting the progress, and there were different increases the 1st of July, and he was organizing a press conference how we apply this, but as or in appreciation to the new burdens. And again, this is unprecedented, the global crisis. It is suitable to postpone any increases for 6 months initially. Instead of 1st of July, we postpone the increases to the end of the year of 2022, and we follow up the progress of the crisis, and the cabinet will reconsider the situation internationally. As I can tell you, we don't know the progress maybe some decisions were taken based on the instructions of the president. We postpone any increases to the end of the year, but I would like to explain how much the government is going to pay for that. The electricity pricing, just to let you know, and the minister, Dr. Shaker, can explain. The most important is the natural gas and the fuel. That is the resources that are the resources for our power plant. We use the old rate of US dollar, 15.7 Egyptian pound per dollar. The increase now it is 18.6, and this is reflected. It costs 16 billion per year, 16 billion Egyptian pound per year. Additionally, as you know, the subsidy given for the first categories of consumption, it was scheduled to increase these tariffs by 4 billion. The cost of it, 4 billion. 16 plus 4 equals 20 billion. Therefore, what we are doing now, as you all know, that we are taking this decision not to increase anything, meaning that for that 6 months, the government is going to pay 10 billion Egyptian pound. I'm telling you so that just to know how the government, how the state is carrying the load instead of the citizens, just to relieve the burden. We in the budget had a reserve and we declared it, but the citizen may ask, what about this reserve? How are you going to spend it? Just one band will cost 10 billion for electricity. And today, and I'm just declaring the figures for you. We reviewed the supply situation, weight, oil, sugar, food oil and sugar. Weight as declared by the president, thanks God that the reserve can last for 6 months. For the subsidized bread may last for 6 months. Again, I renew my deep thanking for the Egyptian farmers as they responded to the Egyptian initiative. And we hope that we are going to continue in this track. I know that the season is late due to climate change. We ask the farmers to supply weight in coming period. The more we can get, the more hard currencies we will save. The cost of weight increase, whether for weight supply or whatever, the difference in the international rate is 23 billion Egyptian pounds. Again, Egyptian government will pay for it. Food oil, the reserve can last for 6 months. Let me give you an example. The 1 ton internationally, we import 90% of food oil, the raw material. We are refining it and packing it in bottles. 1 ton equals 750 US dollars. Now it equals 1,750. 1,000 increase. 1,000 US dollars. The amount of the amount consumed. I'm speaking about subsidized products. 70,000 tons. Yeah, 850 million, meaning the increase would be 850 million US dollars. 750 to 1750, the increase equals 125%. Let us just consider the increase. The bottle 800 millimeter equals 17 Egyptian pound. Now it is 23. If we apply the formula, if we are going to apply the international rate, meaning that the bottle can reach 40 Egyptian pound. Supposedly the bottle would be sold for 40 Egyptian pound. However, the increase equals from 17 to 23. The difference is paid by the government. These are just examples for the steps the government is taking just to relieve the burden. I'm willing to give you just one number with regard to fertilizers. The international rate for fertilizers 650 US dollars per ton, 12,000 Egyptian pound. Today we increased the cost for the farmers, and the farmer can get it by 450, but taking into account the transport cost, it would reach 600. The real number is 12,000 compared to international rate. The government didn't change prices of gasoline or diesel. We didn't change the prices for diesel. As you know, diesel is reflected in different sectors. That's why we matched the prices of other products with diesel, and not to overload the citizens. This is cost added to the budget. But we are working according to the budget. We try as possible just not to overload citizens. I'm telling you so that just to document our situation and what the government is doing for its citizens. This is our role to reflect our situation. We are not comparing to other countries. Most of countries increased the prices according to the international rates. But we as a government take into account our situation, and we know exactly the social situation and how Egyptian citizens are suffering. That's why we are taking the burden and we are increasing the prices by little amount. Last thing is that I was following up preparations for Adha feast. There are instructions to increase the heads of livestock just to keep prices of the livestock. And last message for people, Egyptian citizens, the government is exerting great effort, the maximum effort to address this crisis. The whole world didn't witness such kind of crisis long time ago, and we are not suffering from supplying basic commodities. Everything is available. Our role as citizens just to project the difficulties we are facing. The whole world does not know what's going on in the future. We need to rationalize consumption and to reduce the burden, specifically with regard to foreign currencies. We require citizens to do so. We will plan, we will implement and we will offer the supplies. As you all know, these are the most important commodities that may be available for 6 months. We will work on it to keep this reserve. I'm not going to be satisfied for 6 months reserve, but we are going to work on long term to keep this reserve. Our role as citizens, and this is the last statement, it is necessary to think together about the crisis. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We have to rationalize our use just to overcome this crisis. Nobody knows when exactly this crisis will end. This is the last demand for citizens. We have to consider this crisis. It is unprecedented crisis. Some countries, developed ones, lack commodities we have in our country, thanks God. We ask Egyptians to consider what the Egyptian country is doing to rationalize the basic commodities. Again, basic commodities will be offered and supplied, thanks God, and happy